what is art? This, or this? Polykleitos from the 5th century BC would say art is ordered proportion. Da Vinci would simplify that to the discipline of seeing. Richard Long in 1967 found art in the line he traced as he walked through a wet field of grass. In a multi-millennia exploration of art, it can feel like sometimes artists are playing a different game. Across history, artists haven't just changed how they depict the world, but they've also changed what they value, what's worth depicting. Is art about trying to copy the visible world or reveal a world beyond it? Or strip the world back to what's tangible and easy to grasp? I've discovered a matrix that I've found really helpful to plot the pursuit of art throughout history. We can start with one tension: abstraction versus naturalism. Put simply, abstraction is when something is so stylized it no longer looks like physical form. Naturalism is when something is true to nature. It's when something represents reality as we're used to seeing it. Dr. Asa Simon Mittman turned this into a matrix, with the vertical axis at the top idealization, at the bottom realism. Idealism is when you're pursuing a higher ideal. Realism is about our grounded physical reality. I find this matrix helpful, but I prefer the transcendent and the immanent. Now, these are big words, so bear with me. The transcendent is about ideals. Think Plato, the ideal world. The immanent is about physical reality here and now. Think Aristotle. So we're going to get unapologetically nerdy today. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace art history, looking at some key artworks, and we're going to ask two questions. First question, does this artwork move towards naturalism, where the visible world is recognizable, or does it move towards abstraction, where the world is simplified and reorganized or reduced or even removed from reality? The next question, does this artwork point to the transcendent, which is a realm beyond the material world? Maybe an ordering principle or an ideal that we all long for, like love? Or is this artwork about the immanent, about the present, about the bodily thing that we experience in everyday gritty reality? Now, as we do a survey of the world, where better to start than classical Greece? Take, for example, Doryphorus by Polykleitos. This is a work of the Greek classical ideal. Where would you place it on the matrix? First, let me tell you a bit about it. This is one of the earliest named artists in history, and we know his name because he was important. He was someone who devised the guiding principles for beauty, and he did that through his ideal set of proportions. First thing we see is that this looks like a person, so it's probably not abstract, it's naturalistic. But then we ask, is this pursuing the transcendent or the immanent? Now that might be difficult because here we see a genuine man. But the ultimate pursuit of this art was to figure out the most harmonious, beautiful proportions in the ideal man. Notice the contrapposto. This is where one leg is bearing weight and the other one is relaxed, so the shoulders lean and the hips lean. And in his pursuit of the ideal, he is interested in the transcendent. That is, what are the universal principles that make something beautiful? So Doryphorus sits in our top right quadrant. It's naturalistic and it's transcendent. Let's compare this to a little later and we'll look at a Byzantine icon. We're in the 6th century and we're seeing an artwork that is built for the sake of prayer. To me, that would put it in the transcendent. Next question though, does this look like realism to you? You see, often we look at a civilization and we assume, well, maybe they just lacked the skill. They were trying realism, but they couldn't quite get there. But the reality is, for Byzantine art, they were intentionally stylizing imagery because they didn't want realism. The concern was if it looks too realistic, it might become idolatrous. Why? Because this is an icon designed for prayer, and it's not really about the subject itself, it's about what it points to. How the idea of an image of the mother and child or an image of a saint might espouse a longing within you that leads to prayer. So it's not naturalistic, it's abstracted, but gosh, it's transcendent. So here we are in the quadrant of the iconic abstraction. Let's move a bit later to the Renaissance. Here is Raphael, the betrothal of the Virgin, and it's so beautiful. Everything's ordered, it's balanced, it's harmonious. The whole pursuit of the Renaissance was to pursue the true, beautiful, and the good. But it does this through intentional naturalism. These people look like people, standing people in places. There's perspective, 1 point perspective to be precise. But we know that this is a bit more ordered than everyday reality. And that's because they're pursuing the transcendentals of the true, beautiful, and good. So I would say this is transcendent, but naturalistic. Let's move on. Move with me to Caravaggio, the incredulity of Saint Thomas. Firstly, naturalistic or abstract? I think you would agree with me, it's even more real. I mean, look at the wrinkles in their brow. Look at the torn clothing, the dirty fingernails. This is naturalism. And what's interesting is it's speaking of a divine truth, but it's also quite immanent. It has this everyday realism. Like that wound is a bit uncomfortable, and the lighting feels like we're entering the art studio. We don't see Jesus floating 1 foot off the ground, or there's no halo. But here we have physical, earthy grittiness. Enter that quadrant, empirical, material, naturalism. What about Johannes Vermeer, the Dutch Golden Age? Here we're in 17th century Protestant Holland. And look at how earthy and gritty this is. This is naturalism at its best. You can still see the little nail on the wall. That suspended pouring of milk just has such realism. And is this transcendent or immanent? I think this is one of the greatest displays of just the beauty of everyday reality. So I have to say I struggle to place this because beauty is a transcendental. It's something that is about an ideal beyond this world, but it's also revealed deeply in this world. And I think that's where Vermeer wants us to look. The here, the now, the suspended moment of tension as she pours milk is perhaps more imminent than Caravaggio. Let's enter the world of Romanticism. Here is Caspar David Friedrich, the wanderer above the sea of fog. Now again, we're in this realm of naturalism. It's physical, it's earthy. We enter the world with him. We don't just look at him, we look at what he looks at. The fog hides as much as it reveals. And this painting is about awe and grandeur. This is the pursuit of Romanticism. It's about the sublime, about those forces of nature that are far too large for us to hold and contain. So it's obviously naturalism, but I struggle to place Romanticism because in one sense it's about the transcendental, it's about the sublime force of nature, but in another sense it's very physical, it's gritty, it's earthy, and it's looking at the here and now. I'm convinced though the goal is to invite the viewer into a spiritual experience, perhaps not the sort of sublime experience that you might experience in a church, but one that still displaces you in a solitary sort of way. So I'm putting it up. Now let's enter Impressionism. Claude Monet's Sunrise. Notice the beautiful looseness of the brushwork. The Impressionists love looking at the play of light. The harbour is there, but it's loose, it's not sharply described. And I think this is where we're slowly creeping away from naturalism. Artists become more concerned with just their interest in light. We have this new innovation of tin, which means they can take their paints pre-made outdoors. They're not grinding away pigments every time they paint. So we head a bit closer to abstraction, but it's also about the immanent. It's about physical properties in reality. Artists become a little bit less concerned by spiritual truths, but they're more interested in natural observation. Move to Van Gogh's Starry Night and we have a little bit more abstraction. But Van Gogh is a bit of an enigma. The world is charged with grandeur, with life, and he enters the world with a trembling soul. That's where I think Van Gogh is quite concerned with the transcendent. Let's move on. Cubism. Pablo Picasso breaks down form and fully enters the abstracted world. Perhaps not fully, there's still sometimes a depiction of people, but they become like angular glimpses of signs or ideas of people. So Cubism is strongly in that abstracted world, but perhaps not fully there. Now, is Cubism transcendent or immanent? It doesn't seem to pursue divine, sacramental, or spiritual realities. And it's quite interested in seeing realities of our physical world, whether it's objects or bodies or guitars from different angles. It, in many ways, is about perception, but it's deeply psychological. I think it remains quite committed to the physical world, so I would say it's immanent abstraction. Cubism doesn't look towards the heavens, it looks so intently into the world that it breaks open. Now, Surrealism. I think Surrealism's useful for this matrix because it shows that naturalism isn't always photographic realism, but it's definitely interested in naturalistic illusion. But it breaks down the illusion to reveal the instability of consciousness. It's deeply psychological. But is it transcendental or immanent? I would call it transcendental immanence, because it's interested in the ordered world almost breaking down and opening up like a dream. It's like artists who are now suspicious of the immanent and wondering if there's a deeper reality. But I wouldn't put it as high as the Byzantine art. It doesn't promote a spiritual reality, it's just suspicious of the physical one. Abstract expressionism. Well, it's in the name, it's obviously abstract. But Rothko here is trying to evoke something that's contemplative and atmospheric. In a sense, this abstract art becomes a signpost to a greater reality. Most abstract art tends to be formal and analytical, like just breaking down those art elements, line, color, just for the sake of their visual interest. But Rothko's art is quite contemplative and atmospheric. Many people stand before it and speak of some pretty profound, moving experiences. There's this sense of presence and silence within the image. So I would call this transcendental abstraction. And let's land perhaps with Donald Judd and minimalism. Donald Judd would love to create repeated industrial forms. And there's nothing actually to decode in the artwork. Its meaning isn't hidden behind the artwork, though it might reference some other artists of its time. But its meaning is found in the object's presence, its scale, space, materiality, and its relationship to the room. And it sort of asks us to stop looking through art and just look at it. This is where I would place it in the immanent abstract. And the point of all of this is that the history of art is not this straight march from primitive to advanced. It's this long argument about where reality is deepest. Do we find reality in the physical immanent world, or is there a higher ordering principle through which we can use art to engage with something deeper, something universal? Now, this matrix isn't meant to trap you into a box, but it's there to help you understand what you're looking at and the motivations behind it. It's meant to lead you to ask what the artwork is trying to do. Does it help you to revere, to observe, or to measure, analyze, or maybe just to feel? So we come back to the question, what is art? And dare I say it, it has something to do with the intention of the creator and the reception of its audience. Somewhere in that dialogue, art speaks. So what do you feel most drawn to? The transcendent or the immanent? The naturalistic or the abstract? Leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you.